Hey everyone, how are you today? Happy Tuesday. It's Joanna from GSN, and we are starting our first webinar with BANA, the Balneology Association. I think I said it right, Janet. And we are really fortunate to have Janet Abbott, who is the president of the organization, with us today, who's going to share with us her presentation. We really appreciate the partnership with GSN, and we welcome you. And thank you. Megan is in the control room, as always, kind of working her magic behind the scenes, making sure this all goes smoothly. And she'll help facilitate questions at the end of the presentation. But thank you for joining us, Janet. And
Thank you. You're welcome.
you can get started.
Okay. So you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Balneology. This is a pronunciation, balneology. It's a challenging word, but it's a worldwide word used about traditional medicine and practice and the study of the arts, sciences, and cultures of natural mineral waters for community health and well-being. BANA is sharing with the Green Spa Network our initiatives for research, information, and education of natural mineral waters for health and well-being in communities. And we're collaborating and working with Green Spa Network with their initiatives for the spa and wellness industry, which is to function in a more collaborative and regenerative manner through research, education, and fundraising. In this water series, we'd like to introduce our audience to balneology, the arts and the sciences and cultures and communities of the waters through drinking and hydrating, bathing and soaking, steams and saunas, muds, peloids, climates, and geology. BANA has shared research and education through the USA as keynote speakers, hosting conferences of study in spa towns, by consulting through interaction and networking with mineral water communities to understand the many levels that interplay in order to receive the waters, care for the waters, find wellness within the waters, recirculate the waters, and allow the waters to return to nature.
Hi, Janet.
Yes?
I just want to let you know, I don't know if you were trying to share your screen yet, but we don't see it if you were.
I don't see it. Okay. All right. I thought that I shared it already. Okay, here we go. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So we'll start with, this is a poem by Lao Tzu from his Tao Te Ching, 500 BC, Chinese philosopher, and this is the philosophy of waters. The supreme goodness is like water. It benefits all things without contention. In dwelling, it stays grounded. In being, it flows to depths. In expression, it is honest. In confrontation, it stays gentle. In governance, it does not control. In action, it aligns to timing. It is content with its nature and therefore cannot be faulted. The three key lessons that can be drawn from this poem are humility, harmony, and openness. H2O. Humility, water stays low in the river, yet it is a life-giving force. Through harmony, water does not fight against its surroundings. It works with them to find a course. And in openness, water is open to change as gas, liquid, or solid. It adapts and it alters its form accordingly. And I pulled this from a TED Talk by Raymond Tang. The waters are time given and time taken. The waters come to us and the waters leave us. We are changed by the waters every moment. When contemplating the waters with mindfulness, generosity is enhanced through the nature of the waters, whether in a natural setting or within created spa destinations offering hospitality. Natural mineral waters are different from other types of waters, such as municipally treated waters, due to the high concentrations and content of minerals. There are both cold mineral waters and thermal mineral waters. These are both heated by the Earth's core. The waters travel through depths of geological time, dissolving minerals along the way to the surface, emerging as springs or wells with a composition that hydrates and heals. Some waters remain underground, absorbing minerals and gases for thousands of years before emerging to the Earth's surface. All water has an age, and this is an age when we interact with it. It could be thousands of years. Knowing your sources of the waters coming into your settings, either through facilities or your home, allows a wider framework of understanding by the way we welcome the waters for health and well-being into our communities, or how we realize how we support waters used for industry of health and wellness. Giving consideration to the way the waters return to nature, either through hospitality, healing, and harmony, makes for a healthy community. As we continue to develop our language of the waters, our culture and history of the waters, the medicine of the waters, and the manner in which we share the waters, we deepen the care in which we envision the waters. This is about knowing your watershed. The philosophy of the water conversation today requires, an envisioning of where these waters come from. It's the way we can consider all cycles of the water that come into our lives, how we use them, how we take care of them, and how we let them go. So this is a moment where you can just sit and contemplate where waters come from and the cycles in which they come into our lives and out. And I'll just read a piece about this. Water enters the watershed as rain or snow melt in the highlands. Some gather in ponds and creeks that feed larger streams and rivers. Some soak into the soil, which filter the water as it travels downward to be stored in underground aquifers. A healthy watershed acts like a sponge, absorbing, storing, and slowly releasing water. Water moves from the watershed divide at the highest elevations to the body of water at the lowest point in a watershed. It can travel over land as surface water or flow underground as groundwater. As water moves from the top to the bottom of the watershed, it passes through communities, forests, grasslands, farmland, wetlands, and floodplains. Along the way, it nourishes the land and all living things that inhabit the watershed. Water can remain in a watershed for hours, days, or thousands of years, but eventually it evaporates from the surface of the earth or water body as air is transpired by a plant. Someday, somehow, every drop of water that entered as precipitation returns to the atmosphere as water vapor and starts the journey all over again. Natural water sources, hot and cold, warm and cool, from springs or artesian flow wells, have a nature that requires specific modes of understanding. The essence of time, the temperature of the waters, the flow, the volume flow of the waters, minerals in the waters from earth geology, our watersheds, and the climatology, they mandate the distribution of the waters through plumbing design and purpose, such as drinking waters from fountains, faucets, bottles, cups, pools for bathing or soaking, steams, saunas, hydrotherapy treatments using waters and muds, public use for production, and private use for business and home. This is an example of a watershed. This is a state park, Thermopolis State Park, and this is in Wyoming. And I called this up as a representation because you can see the photo of the large mountain or hillside here, but it has the overflow of all the heavy minerals that come out of the spring. So these are colorful terraces along the Bighorn River at Thermopolis. And this water flows from a mineral hot springs. More than 8,000 gallons flow from this spring daily. every 24 hours at a constant temperature of 128 degrees Fahrenheit. This state park is a free bathhouse where the water is maintained at 104 degrees for therapeutic bathing. So anyone who is visiting the state park can go and soak in this wonderful water at the bathhouse for free. It's a very silky, milky water and full of really wonderful minerals that it's worth a trip there to go visit and take a soak. But also this not only feeds the state bathhouse, but this is where the state park in Wyoming stewards the land surrounding the natural spring source. And this has the world's largest mineral springs. And the watershed feeds the Bighorn River via the state park systems. There's public fountains for drinking. There's water features of historic mineral water sculptures. This is all constant flowing of water through the park. There's a state park bathhouse, as we talked about, with free minerals water for soaking, several lodging facilities, water pools, mineral water pools for recreation facilities, such as the ones on the bottom. There's two that show up in the park. There's a rehabilitation center with warm therapy pools, and there's an assisted living community, and there's walking access to the state park bathhouse. So the state park is stewarding the waters from its source to nature. So this is why I wanted to represent this particular site and source specific area in Wyoming. And these waters flow out from this mineral spring, flow through the state park facilities, and flow back into nature. It's a great example of a watershed. Utility sources, well, we all have them, and they come in all kinds of different shapes and forms and complexes. But the water treatment plants provide for the sanitary distribution of circulated waters through our tax dollars. And growing familiar with your watersheds and local treatment facilities support the manner in which you share water with your community. And the point of this is just to grow familiar with our watersheds. One of the efforts of BANA is to embrace the full scope of the way waters come to us, how we use them for our wellness, or in all the many ways we use the waters, and then how they ultimately return to nature in some shape or form. So we're part of this process, and that's one of the initiatives of BANA, is to educate and inform people about these processes and to encourage you to think this way also. So why BANA thinks the way we do? Our thoughts about water are wide-ranging and inclusive. And what do we do with our research, information, and education? So for several decades, we formulated from our experiences a multi-level system of understanding we call the BANA Triquetra, which is an example of strength, unity, and care. And these embody natural mineral waters, referencing and study, and the practice for health and well-being through, we have something called our BANA 10 domains. And these are integrated systems of the waters represented in foods, movement, body work, mind and body, natural therapeutic agents, nature, education, management, and time. BANA best practices are also another part of this integrated system. And these are practices of health and well-being that would be demonstrated at usually site-specific sources or in your own home of wellness and care. But this is through hospitality, hygiene, hydration, harmony, homeostasis, healing, history, and humanity. And then we've also developed something we call the BANA Flow Formula, which is a tool for holistic assessment of site-specific water sources. And this is about building relationships between individuals and communities. And there's so many layers that go into the relationships that are required for bringing water into our lives, and specifically when it has to do with health and wellness, into our homes and into facilities that offer health and wellness and or remote sites. So all of these are kind of the wide embrace of what BANA takes into mind for the way we think, the way we do. So we've brought up some, well, with this, I'll go back to this. We have monthly nationwide community conversations, and these feature varied aspects of these integrated systems. And this deepens communications, with the waters through elevating the language we use about the mineral waters. So conversations are important because there's just so many ways and that to speak about mineral waters and healthy waters and hygienic waters and so many considerations in the way we purpose these waters. So conversations are the way we can network and work together and collaborate about waters, and this is a necessary element to help build the strength of health and wellness through these waters. So some questions you might ask, and we are asking you to think about, are how do you speak about the waters in a spa setting or in a production setting to communicate or collaborate, to regenerate or sustain? Do you educate about your waters and through hospitality in your facility or even in your working environment, at your front desk or through your service providers, your practitioners or staff? Do you communicate about the waters, of your spa, the way they're used, the quality of them? Do you demonstrate this as you or represent this as you give your guests a drink of water? Is it something more than just handing them something for hydration, but does it offer a way to consider the water's source? There's wonderful stories about waters that we drink and their sources. What is your water source? Do you know this? It's worth exploring. It deepens understanding. Doing this. How do you use it? Where does it go? How is water used in instance and the products? And the big question these days is how does thermal water support hygiene, strengthening immune for symptoms? So we've offered a few tips here, becoming familiar with your local waters and watersheds, your sources, your utility, or your treatments. This is just a way to deepen these conversations. You can enhance the communication of the waters to your guests through attention to details. This brings water to the forefront rather than it being a side use, something that just happens. Another great way to enjoy the waters and to demonstrate your use of the waters and understanding is go take a bath, a soak, a sauna, drink water, participate in it, engage, get wet, and be vigilant, live a clean life. One of the interesting things about this last year was the use of water for cleaning, cleansing, washing our hands. We became familiar with water in a whole different way. So this is, we welcome some conversation at this point. We thank you. And our talk next month will be about the benefits of natural mineral hot spring waters.
Janet,
yes.
Sorry. Yeah, we do actually have a question from John Gray. Can the qualities of natural mineral water be chemically stimulated in a setting distant from a natural source? Stimulated, not stimulated. Apologize.
Oh, can you simulate natural waters through building the chemistry as if you were representing that water or replicating that water? Is that the question?
Maybe John, you can clarify, but I'll say it one more time just to clarify. Can the qualities of natural mineral water be chemically stimulated in a setting distant from a natural source?
I think I can answer to some of that, Janet, if you need. This is J. Paul.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's a distinction between natural water and technical water. This would be a technical water. Again, hello, John. There's been some technology in terms of, yes, you can add CO2, you can add gases, you can add minerals, but there is a difference between natural mineral waters and technical waters that have been manufactured to simulate. A lot of that would depend upon the amount of time that the water has fermented, so to speak, like wine. So it could have, it depends upon what chemicals you're adding in terms of magnesium, potassium, what elements, and again, and it depends also what water you're starting with. Is it a totally purified, demineralized, distilled water, or what? But then, and again, what are the proportions and the qualities of minerals that you're adding? Key to it, though, is yes, you can add the minerals, and you may have a mineral constituent in a mineral analysis that is comparable or comparable to a natural mineral water, but it's then also the gases and even some of the gases and the amount of time that it has coagulated. So I don't know if that answers your question. I know there are people claiming to make mineral waters, but I think Mother Earth does it best.
Great. Thank you, Jonathan. How can you find the source of water around the world? Any good information or resource we can access?
Besides Google?
It's always a good source.
Yeah.
Well, a source of water such as a spring source, a drinking water source, a well source, you would look locally. So if you were looking, say, for a local spring source, you would go to your state or, your province, your state, your county or a city, and mostly you would find resources about that source locally. There are sites that will list hot spring sources if you wanted to find destination locations, and then there's even rustic. There's books written about a lot of the rustic sources, rustic settings that you can hike to, etc. There are websites that offer a lot of this information by enthusiasts who keep in touch and communicate about finding sources or visiting them, and they'll talk about the water and maybe little tips on getting there and things to think about that water, or just their experience soaking.
Yeah.
The water source would be, you could find that. Google mostly is the way to find information about a drinking water source. There are some websites also that feature waters that are bottled, and probably the finer drinking waters you could locate and find their stories and their water source through these websites, and could certainly list them for you if you wanted them.
I'm sorry, Janet, the U.S. Geological Service has done surveys and listing, and they have maps and in terms of the sources, but there's a really old book, a good book called Springs and Bottled Waters of the World by Springer, but it's $150 for the book, but they've surveyed the world in terms of different spring sources.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question? Thank you, Jonathan, for jumping in. Just so you know, everybody on this call now, this is a 4-part series, so he'll be speaking on October 12th at 3 p.m. Eastern on the benefits of mineral hot spring waters. So don't miss that. If you already signed up for this webinar, you'll definitely get a reminder for that one, as well as November 9th and December 14th. So you'll get those emails. And if anybody doesn't have any questions, here's some references.
Yeah, this is about the Watershed poster if you want to see that. This includes our site, so you can learn about us more. And then I reference the hot spring in Thermopolis, just based on this this piece. We will be talking about, if we go back up to the 4-part series, the next one will be about the benefits of hot spring waters, but the November 9th will be about water hygiene. And the last one will be about drinking waters for hydration. So we will talk more about how to find these water sources, each of these parts of the series will continue to reference ways you can learn more about the water.
Mhm. In that context, and we're really grateful, Bonna, is that we're able to team up here with GSN. I think there's an interesting trail ahead of us in terms of this conscious conversation on the waters. And so what I would ask, it'd be interesting to know who are the participants and who's listening. So that along the way, we could actually have a conversation, seeing each other's faces. But I would ask people to ask themselves, not only where are the waters, but where is water not? Where are the waters not? Try living a day or two like the dear folks down in Louisiana without water. Try, power is not having power is enough, but if you just really become conscious of the way you are engaged with water, not only the 70% of your own body, but what is going on in terms of, where does the water come from in terms of your spa, in terms of your location? What is the source of it? Is it coming from a well, a spring, or is it municipal? What happens to it when it's in your facility and around in terms of washing, cleaning, flushing, bathing? And then where does it go? How do you give it back to nature? Water it's really, and what is fascinating now about this whole sense of water, they're finding some new totally discoveries that they're finding memory in water, which is a whole other conversation in terms of structure and things like that. But Jana, I thank you. Are you really spread, the watershed, and just start thinking. And I would think the assignment, not that this is a class, but it might be, because we'd like to develop some kind of, full comprehension of what's going on with the waters in terms of, come back next time. What is your watershed? Bring a picture of the watershed that you live in. And where does the drops of water, do they make it into the Atlantic or to the Pacific or the Great Lakes, or what is the true full flow of the waters where you live, to become conscious of your waters?
That's wonderful. I think we all don't spend enough time, thinking about these things. And also, if they're at a spa, like educating clients or attendees, especially if you do have a source next to you. If anybody does have questions too, you can email it to info@greenspanetwork.org. And now we'll make sure that they will get these questions in before the next webinar and hopefully address them then.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you both for being here, and thank you all for participating. Rendy will register you. Great. All right. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you on October 12th.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very
so
much. Get wet.
much.